Okay, I did a budget build off of some parts that I got in on trade and a few other parts that I had sitting around the house. So this would be a Ryzen 2600 non-X, and right now I've got 16 gigs of RAM in it at 3000, but I'm going to end up replacing because I want this to be a budget build and I'd be using that RAM for something else later. So I'm waiting on a dual kit stick to get 2 times 4 2400 megahertz DDR4. And my plans on that is to at least get that clocked up to 2666 stable. Hopefully, I can get 3000 out of the cheaper kit, but it's only rated at 24. I always can get 2666 stable with with 16, 17, 17, 17, 40 timings, but getting 3000 is sometimes can be difficult. And every now and then you get lucky and you get a kit, this budget kit you can get on up to 3200, take full advantage of what I consider full advantage of what the 2600 series uh, can do. This also has a GTX 974 gigabytes. It's on a B350 motherboard, and that's one of the reasons why it's a budget system. I got the B350 gigabyte motherboard, but I hate um, to get the boards as far as power delivery and everything's perfectly fine, but I hate the BIOS in it. And if this video gets shut off with the system that I'm running it on, it's not got anything to do with the system. It's my video capture device. I think I need to get a new one. It's tended to lock up, and so I would have to close out the video. But what I ended up doing is I ran a couple of benchmarks, but a couple of things I wanted to share about this system is I got a really good deal on a few hard drives, and I'm working off. I don't have a KVM, so I'm working off of two different mouse, two different keyboards. So is I got a really good deal on some hard drives a while back, and I picked up more than what I could possibly use at any one given time. But eventually, it'll work out good. So the C drive, now mind you, I did a stability test and everything else. So I ran a 16-hour stability test and then loading the operating system and um, BIOS, a couple of BIOS updates and everything else. And we got 42 power on counts with 25 hours on the C drive, and that's and then on the D drive, well, you can tell it's pretty much not even hardly been used. Power on count 49 times. Don't know how I got 49 power on counts on that one, but power on hours is 6 hours, and I think that was the no that could I didn't even have that hooked up during the stability test. So yeah, so the two hard drives in it are practically brand new, and so with that system, and the reason why I'm keeping this budget motherboard, I've actually had the opportunity to build it, but this is I'll get into a demonstration of exactly after the reboot of exactly why I don't I don't like the Gigabyte B350 motherboards, and I don't know how many other boards is like that by Gigabyte, but I hate their BIOS. I'm not talking any junk about the actual quality of the hardware, but their BIOS program absolutely horrible. And so I was wanting to clock this thing to 4.2 gigs, or at least 4.1. Well, I can't do an overclock whatsoever in the BIOS because if I go to advanced frequency settings, I can move up the auto clock and I can set it to 4100. Where I run into the problem at is whenever I go into advanced voltage settings, and So these are the options I'm getting. I've got no load line calibration. I can't set a steady V core. The only thing that I can set in it is the offset of the V core. So if I wanted to add more power, I just have to bring it up. Well, so if I bring it, I actually went a little bit too far just for that. So if I actually bring it up enough to where it was running the 1.4 volts, which I wouldn't even want it to run that high, but even at 1.4 volts, when I would clock it to 4,000, it would power droop down to 1.3 volts, and 1.3 volts is not enough. It's going to cause the system to crash. So in order to get it to 4.0 uh, gigahertz, I ended up having to use Ryzen Master, which is another problem, as I don't like Ryzen Master. So, but that is the only options you get with bringing up your voltage, even if you go into further advanced settings. The same thing with your socket voltage. So the SoC can sometimes help getting that memory further past with overclocking your timings, but a lot of times you'll have to increase your SoC, and it doesn't allow you to do it. What it also don't allow you to do is change your command rate. Sometimes you can lower your command rate and you can boost your frequency, and you still see an advantage even though your command rate's slower. And that's my primary problem with this system. There's nothing wrong with the system. I just do not like the BIOS because I'm limited on what I can do with the setup. And so even though it's got two mechanical hard drives, without a lot of stuff in the boot, you don't really have a lot of tasks running in the background. You don't have a extra long boot time. It's not solid state, and it's definitely not NVMe. But given that it's a budget system, I wouldn't have a problem waiting a few extra seconds for it to boot, because whenever you're running your programs, it may take longer to load them, but once they're loaded up, it's not going to change the speed of anything except for whenever you're saving data or writing data. So we ran Heaven benchmark on it because it wasn't taking a whole lot of time after I ran Heaven benchmark. I ran Cinebench, and then of course for me to do my stability test, daggone it, what is the name of that program? It's not Ada64. It's practically the same thing as Ada64. Um, this was the benchmark results on Heaven before I did a slight bit of an overclock on the video card, and this is and the processor, and this is a slightly better score afterwards. Same thing with Cinebench. I have those results right here. So and I don't know if y'all will be able to see that in the video, but without the overclock, the Cinebench score on all 6 cores was 1224. Once I boosted the overclock up to 4.0, is 1371. Now, boot on this system, you get automatically will be getting the overclock for the video card. And it's not much of an overclock. It's more of a power curve than it is an overclock. But with the 450 watt power supply, and where you're going to see your greatest performance, that's increasing the clock speed of the Ryzen. I kept it limited, and I figured this is going to be an upgrade system later on, so somebody's going to take that 450 out and probably throw a 750 or 850, and maybe even like a year or two from now, they might want to go with a 3700 or 3900, and they're going to have the option to do that. So the bad thing about this is because of the way those BIOS are set up, and I have the latest BIOS on that. Just the options you get would be 350 from Gigabyte. No other board does that. You can change load line calibrations. As far as I know, every board that I've ever bought, except from Gigabyte, does this. So you have to start up your Ryzen Master, and I've got it set onto its own profile. And why Ryzen Master isn't coming, I know it's because of the video card. So on profile 1, we're shooting it up from 38 to 4000, and this is a 4000 solid, where the other one was a boost clock. And you hit apply, and now you can just close it out, and we'll do a Cinebench right quick. And now some of the results may vary because I've got it on the network right this second. There's could be some stuff going on in the background that like your Windows updates, but we should still see right close to the same clock speeds we've seen before, or the same benchmark results. Uh, 1365, 1371 is margin of error at that point. So we'll close that out, and now I'm gonna go back and refresh this system, get some of this junk off of it. And this system will normally sell for about $475 to $525 is what I think it's worth. Is what I put it on the market for. I'll be always willing to negotiate price. But appreciate your time watching.